What's going on YouTube? Welcome to episode 175 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. New subscribers, don't forget to join the Discord. I'll have a link in the description below. And today we're going to be shifting gears from working on our farm a little bit. We're going to be focusing today's episode on the fencing area. That was seen showcased in a few episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. This is one of the recreational areas that Picard would go to unwind. And I'm really looking forward to getting into this today, so let's kick back, relax, and jump right into it. We've got about a 25-minute episode. So I didn't exactly go start this recording, and I probably should have, and shown the exact placement so you guys could have this exactly where I have it on my ship. I think the most important part here is that we just make sure that this is on the entertainment deck on the saucer section. If you do that, you're in good shape, to be honest with you. I decided to try to do something different and catty corner this build. So you can see I'm going to be building this off an angle, so we're on the forward right section of the ship, I believe, looking backwards, and I'm going off of one of the angled hull lines here, and that's what we're going to be building off of. But again, the most important part here, I think, is just to make sure that we're building this on the entertainment deck. You know, the Enterprise D ended up being so large that I didn't want to just have a bunch of rooms scattered all over the place. I wanted it to make sense, and it just made perfect sense to me at that point. I'm like, well, let's just break this thing down by category, and that's exactly what we've done here. So anything that feels like it's something that we're going to be doing for recreation, I feel like this is something that needs to go on the entertainment deck, plain and simple. This isn't going to be a super long build. I believe this is actually just going to be a one and done episode for the fencing area. But this will be a pretty cool addition to our ship. And we're starting to get into the final stretch of episodes on the Enterprise D. And it's kind of hard to believe that we've been working on this thing for about a year and a half. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end at some point. And unfortunately, since I lost the save file for the Enterprise D, we're only going to be able to do as much as I've pre-recorded. So, you know, it kind of is what it is there. But the good thing about that, at least, is that there's going to be a ton of room left over, that anybody that wants to further customize this ship, you'll have the room that you can make it your own. And with that being said, even the stuff that I'm adding in here, you know, if you're not feeling it or you want to do something different with it, or you just want to use this as a loose inspiration, go for it. There's honestly nothing wrong with that. This is just one of the many ways that you could do it. So hopefully, by the end of this episode, this will give you some ideas. Those of you that do want to copy this one for one, you know, have at it. But really, I think the main focus here is that we have to get some piece of reference to go off of, especially when something has been on the show, which you can see I've got on the right here. And breaking down the layout of the room, we've got our point that we can come in right through this doorway right here. You come in, you've got an area that you can sit down, change, do whatever you need to do, and then you have your fencing pad. So not a super complicated build to do. So what we're going to have to just focus on here is building out that hallway and that prep area, and then from there we can add the fencing pad. Now, I don't necessarily talk about this a lot, but we're going to do a little bit more. I'm going to try to do more of this as we go forward with the tutorials. One of the things I always say to do when you're building out your ships, and I mostly have said this with the exterior, is to wireframe it out. We're essentially doing the same thing with the room. It's always good to have a base outline to go off of. And basically what I'm doing right now is I'm getting my foundation in place. It's a really good idea to have your foundation in place because you want to know what type of room you have to work with. Definitely very important. So you can establish this ahead of time, and then if you need to make any changes, you can make those changes. But this at least gives you a good starting point, so you can see what type of room you have to work with. And I think the length that we just made that, I don't think that we're honestly going to have to do much more than that. I mean, we could maybe stretch it out a little bit, because we're probably going to have to straighten out the entryway point once we come in. There's nothing that we can really do about the caddy angle entry point unless we do it on a flat surface, which again, if you're not really feeling how I did the entryway point to actually get in the corridor, you don't like it at an angle, what I would say at that point is move it to one of the sections of the corridors that's straight. So this way you have a nice flat surface to go off of. But I always end up doing that on my tutorials, so this is you know, one of the main reasons why I also wanted to do this in this tutorial today. So those of you that maybe be in a situation that you have to do a caddy corner entryway point, this will kind of give you an idea of how you can make that happen. It's really not all that different from doing the straightaway one. You just kind of have to add in just a couple more details here and there to make that angle work, because it's not exactly the same. It's a little bit slightly different to get that entryway point just right. But we'll get into that a little bit later on. Really, right now our focus is getting our foundation in place as well as our walls. So we have our area to work with, and then we can start detailing this thing up and making it come to life. It's been crazy. I've been saying this for a while, that, you know, once we got into the interior, we were going to get into some really cool stuff, and it's not really until we've gotten to the end of this tutorial series that you guys have been able to see some of these cool rooms that I was able to add on. And, you know, I can't really take credit for all this stuff, because the majority of the rooms that I've added on the Enterprise D, with maybe an exception one or two, you know, these are all things that are that were on the ship. So anytime that you're building your own ship out, you know, my best suggestion with this is just do your research. You know, look online, whether that's Google or Yahoo, and in this case, search U.S.S. Enterprise D interior, or you can do U.S.S. Enterprise D fencing area. The more research that you do, the better prepared you're going to be to build the ship out. Because Enterprise D is a very big ship, but again, with that being said, there's only going to be so much detail that you're going to be able to get out of that before eventually you run up on areas of the ship that haven't been shown. Unfortunately, this is something that we're not really going to be able to get into too much on the tutorial, just because, again, we ran out of time to do it, and well, not necessarily time to do it. I lost the recording, so yeah, we don't have the time to do it because we don't even have the recording. But you know, there's things that you can do to get around that, is what I was trying to get at before I veered to the left there for a second. What I do in situations like that is look to other ships, because at the end of the day, they're all Federation ships. They're going to have similarities between them, but they'll have vast differences between them also. But that doesn't mean that you can't use certain areas of the ships as loose references on what you could do. Like a clear example, if we're ever going to build the U.S.S. Excelsior, that would be a tough ship, because they, other than the bridge, they haven't shown any of the interior at all. Well, actually, I take that back. The bridge, and then in the Wrath of Khan, they show the captain's quarters. But that's literally, that's it. That's all we have ever seen of the interior on that ship. So to be honest with you, what I would do to get around that is I would focus on probably Constitution class, because they're built within the same era. They're probably similar enough that you can pull a lot of that from a Constitution class to make your Enterprise B come to life. Another very good thing is using blueprints. This will give you a gauge for where some things do need to go, but again, you know, I would use blueprints as a loose reference, really just to have your corridors in place. Everything else can kind of be maneuvered around where you need it to, because these ships haven't necessarily been designed for organizational purposes. When they do make them, it's mostly just to go in a book so people can see a picture of it. So they haven't necessarily designed them for practicality. You know what I mean? But that's looking pretty good so far. We're getting our walls in place. We've got a little pad here in the back for our walkway prep area right here, and then we've also started our yellow line. It's honestly not a very complicated room to build. You know, like I said, we're doing this in one episode, and I mean, that's really honestly all that it needed. We didn't really need to spend more than one episode on this. I haven't put it up yet. I'm probably going to have more of a solid announcement coming up in the next week's episode, but I'm going to be doing a poll because I want to do a tour on my Enterprise D, but the main issue that I'm going to have with this is that since I don't have my save file, there's going to be no way for me to do this. So I'm getting ready to put a poll together on my Discord so people can come in there and they can post. I'm going to try to keep it, I think, within 7 to 10 minutes, the video itself. Or I think that's probably going to be the range of the time limit that they have to record. And you guys will basically be able to go in and do a tour of your ship inside and outside. And the best one that's closest to the ship that I built will be the one that I'll choose to do a commentary on, and also give a huge shout out to the person that actually made it in inspiration to, or what was based off this tutorial. I think that'll be a cool little compromise here because, you know, I'm very disappointed. I really wanted to be able to do a tour of this ship once it was done, because this ship really has a lot. I can honestly say I've never done more interior for any build I've ever done on Minecraft than the Enterprise D. And I'm not gonna lie, I was really looking forward just to doing that tour itself, because it really was gonna have a huge wow factor. So definitely keep an eye out for that. That'll probably be coming, not this week's videos, but next week I'll put an announcement up. I'm trying to do it towards the tail end of the tutorial, so people will have a finished ship based off my tutorial, and then go from there. So I might actually wait maybe until the last episode before I do that, and then I'll have to wait obviously a couple of weeks until the poll's done. But I think that's going to be a thing. And then also, let's not forget, after the Enterprise D, we've got Voyager coming up. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to doing that. And there's more stuff to come after Voyager. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, I've got the retrofit Enterprise A that I'll be doing, that was based off the Enterprise from Star Trek Beyond, but making it feel a little bit more like the Enterprise A from the original Star Trek movies. That'll be pretty cool to do. I do have some personal builds that I'm excited about doing, that I'll be doing in between. It's not going to be my next build. Like I said, Voyager will be next, but I have a couple of ships that I was eyeing, that I was thinking about just doing. The Excelsior class that I was seeing in Picard Season 2. I'm really leaning towards building that ship. It just actually looks awesome, and I'm probably going to build it out. If I do, though, I'm going to end up changing the saucer. Instead of it being an oval, actually making it a circle. I'll get into that more if and when I ever do that tutorial. I have been having a couple of people here and there asking me, like, hey, on my YouTube, can you do this tutorial, or can you do a tutorial on one of your older YouTube builds that you did in the past you didn't do a tutorial on. Right now, I don't have any plans to do that stuff. However, with that being said, if there is something that you want to see me build, be sure to join my Discord channel, because that's where I'm taking all of my build suggestions right now. So you want to make sure that you join the Discord. I'll have a link in the description below, and you want to click on next build poll, or no, build suggestions. Click on that tab, and you'll be able to comment on there with the build that you want to see me do. The reason I'm doing it on this channel is because it's virtually impossible for people to see what suggestions I've had on my YouTube and upvote them unless they click on that specific video where the comment was made. So I'm trying to kind of funnel all the suggestions together in one place so that everybody can see them, and it'll be a better gauge for the community to see what other people are asking for, and also for myself. And I think that's just going to be the way to go, because like even with the Enterprise D, like what I ended up having to do prior to how I had this set up before was that any suggestion that I had on my YouTube, I had to basically just leave the comments in my queue and not respond to them so that they'd show up, and I'd have to count them out that way. And that is a way to do it, but also other people can't see that. So what would happen, and still happens, is that I'll get a lot of people suggesting stuff that's already been suggested. Now, that's not necessarily a big deal because I just add that in with the other ones. But I have everything set up on the Discord for that reason, just to avoid any confusion so you guys can see what's on there. And I think it'll work out pretty good that way. Now, I do have the Discord up for other things too. You know, it's a work in progress with the community. We've got a nice little chunk of people on there right now, and I'm hoping to grow that up. But that's a great place to go where you can just talk with people about building stuff in Minecraft, Star Trek, or just anything in general, really. But I do try to keep most of the conversations focused on kind of Star Trek and things like that. Keep it very lighthearted, and there's different tabs on there where you can post your own builds for the community to see. Every once in a while we do a watch party. I did one a couple of months ago, and speaking of watch parties, I'm probably going to be doing another one here in the not too distant future. I won't be posting what we'll be watching on my YouTube, so if that's something you want to get involved in, again, join the Discord to get more information on that. But anyway, we're looking pretty good right now with our tutorial so far. You can see we've mostly got this room set up. We lined the floor or the jousting area mostly with carpet so we can cover up this corner here where we had our hall that we couldn't replace that with the gray blocks. And now we're working on adding in our little seating area here where they would either be taking a break or putting on their fencing gear. One of the builds I'm actually really looking forward to doing is the racquetball area. And one of the other things too that I had to do just to prep myself for this build was that I had to watch the show. Which actually it wasn't a big deal because I love TNG, but it basically gave me an excuse to go back and watch the show again from season 1. And that's where I got a lot of this inspiration from, because I'd see a room, I'd stop it, I'd take a picture of it, write down what it was, and then search it online to see if I can find anything else on it. That's a great thing that you can do also, you know, by doing the research, just watching the show, depending on what build you're working on, if it was showcased in a TV show or movie. And just pay attention to what you're seeing, if you can use any of that as reference material. The Enterprise D was kind of different because I really had to pay attention to that stuff just to try to really fill in some of the gaps on this ship. Well, see, that's going to be a problem there. I wanted to have a darker line there, kind of dividing the two rooms, and I guess I kind of already do because of that lighter gray, but that might be something that we revisit. Now this is something else that I'm going to be adding in here, the ribbing in the wall. I don't have too much of this on the interior on the Enterprise D, just because when I started adding it, it really hasn't translated all that well room to room. There's really only been a couple of rooms I've actually done it with. But that is something that you can definitely add, because you'll see that in a lot of the rooms as you go room to room on the Enterprise. They'll have like this ribbing on the wall here. Looks pretty cool. So we're going to try to add some of that in, see how it looks, just to get a little bit more detail out of the room here. Another thing that we're going to, it won't necessarily be a problem, but this section of the wall here, we don't have a picture to go off of. I'd imagine that this wall that we can see here just wraps around it and it looks the same. But that's definitely something that you can do when you're in a situation like this, where let's say you have this exact picture to go off of and you're not sure what to do for this section. Again, you know, I just take this part of the wall that I see right here and just wrap it around. And that's what we did. We've got our ribbing in there. It doesn't look terrible. I'm not quite sure how I feel about the flooring though. I think we're at a point now that we don't need that reference picture. We've pretty much got our room established. Now we're just at a point of fine-tuning it to get to a position that we're happy with. We've got about 5 minutes left, and then we'll end up wrapping this room up, and just we'll be done with it for the tutorial, and we'll move on to the next one. Now, one thing I am going to try, just to mix it up a little bit, I'm going to make the walls, just in kind of the prep area, I'm going to make them terracotta, just so it's not kind of bleeding all together, and to have contrast in colors. Or at least that's the idea. We'll have to look at it when it's done and see how it looks. We could end up having a combination of the white and the terracotta. I don't know. Originally, when I started working on the Enterprise D, most of the walls were supposed to be this color, because they're the closest that match that cream color outside of the sandstone, and I wasn't honestly feeling the sandstone, because all the shapes that they had, or not the shapes, all the different types of blocks that they had, I wasn't really feeling them, because they're all based off of sandstone. It just didn't look right, so I ended up not doing it. I just opted out of slightly going outside the canon for that, and using the white concrete, which just gave us that off-white color. Now, and see, this could work too, have a combination of that gray and the terracotta. That could look good. So what we're basically going to try to do now is have the gray above and below with the terracotta in the middle. Doesn't look terrible. I'm kind of thinking the room's just a little bit plain. We can add in a couple of computer consoles maybe. Maybe this can be considered a replicator, so after you're done with your joust or your fencing, you can come over here to get a refreshment. I don't like the placement of that. I want to make it go a long ways. There we go. That actually looks pretty good. only thing I don't like, and I want to rewind it, because I don't think this is something that I'm going to do in the tutorial. The one thing I don't like with this room is that, and I don't have the picture up right now, but this hall, this part right here should be squared, and it angles back. So what I would honestly do to fix that is I'd make an arch basically going across here to make this more consistent, I guess, and making it feel more like the picture where we delete this section of the half slabs going straight across the roof. We do a block of probably terracotta going straight across and then down. The only downside to that is that I think we'd only have a 2-block gap right here, so we might have to either delete this couch or move it back some, but that's the one and only thing I'm not completely thrilled on with how this room currently looks. And we're going to swap out our chairs. For that darker color. Because that is something I noticed with maybe not the command chairs, but a lot of the other chairs in the ship, they had like kind of like that burgundy red. So that's why I'm using those stairs, because I feel like that matches a little bit more, even if it's slightly straying away from the picture, because in the picture they're definitely not that color, but I feel that that definitely has a TNG look to it. But that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not much else that we can do to this room other than the arch that I was talking about. The room's looking pretty good. We might have to move this console in the back here a little bit because it's not centered with the couch, and it's going to make my eye twitch until I change it. Remember, we're on our entertainment decks. We need to make sure that we're using our entertainment colors. Just as a reminder, and keeping it consistent with the rest of the ship. That's why we're throwing down those colors, because this thing is so big that you will get lost rolling around through it easily if you're not paying attention. So we have those color markers that we put down to remind us on what deck that we're on, just to kind of guide us a little bit. And see, I'm walking through here and like I know something's off, and it's this archway that I was talking about here. But sometimes you have to go back, you have to revisit something to kind of figure out what was missing. But that's kind of why I was just sitting there looking at that, because something felt off, but I wasn't sure on what needed to be done to fix that. But yeah, like if we would have had that arch going across, because I mean from this angle it actually looks great, but when you walk into this side over here, it's that angle going back, it doesn't look right. So I mean really we need to have this going straight across and kind of clean that up. So I mean if that's something that you want to do, I say go for it. If not, I mean you can leave it as is. I think the room looks great. But that's going to wrap it up for us. Just a quickie to get this one done, and we'll be moving on to the next one. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. New subscribers, don't forget to hit notifications on so you get notified when those new videos drop. And speaking of new videos, you can always catch my new Minecraft episodes dropping Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. If you have any questions regarding today's episode or just want to drop by to say hey, be sure to drop a comment below or in the Discord. Any build suggestions, be sure to join the Discord for that and put your posts up under build suggestions. But I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comments section.